can get you there. They got to be potentially interested, or if you were part of their management, would you say everything's good here, we're in a good place, let's just keep going?
Yeah.
Or do you try to trade someone away? They have some real talent.
It's interesting because they started the year pretty bad.
Yeah.
They were 11, 12, 13 games out sometime in June, which was not showing very well for them. And they have some pieces on that team that you would have maybe wanted, someone like a Trevor Bauer, Corey Kluber, among some others as far as like starting pitching goes. And Trevor Bauer is the one that is going to be out there this year. Kluber's coming back from an injury. So is Carrasco. And they're kind of a team that I think could do a little bit of both. Maybe they sell a little bit. Maybe they try and buy up a little bit. We saw Tampa Bay do that last year when they traded away Chris Archer to the Pirates, but they picked up Tommy Pham from the Cardinals, who's been a great pickup for them. And, but they played really well lately, and they are in a possession of a wild card spot now. So, going into it, their mindset may have been, hey, we need to sell this far out in June. When it comes time for end of July, we're going to be selling. But now that they are ready to go, maybe they make a move. And, and if they don't now, maybe in the offseason they could still maybe move Bauer. I don't know if overall they're overly happy with Bauer and how he's pitched overall or how he's performed. But I think they could be an interesting team and kind of see what they do. I don't see their name attached to a bunch of stuff, but I think they could definitely be an interesting team. Another team that has a lot of players that I think people want to get a hold of. Now, will they do it is a different story, but the Mets, they're tied to a lot. The Mets don't typically sell pieces at the trade deadline. You haven't really seen a lot of players leave them. But obviously, there are some big names out there, and there's going to be some big teams that come calling. The Astros and the Yankees are going to be some of the biggest teams that are going to come calling. Zach Wheeler, Noah Syndergaard, Todd Frazier, I think are some of their biggest pieces that we could potentially see moved. I don't think they move all of them, but I would not be surprised in the least if we see a big name pitcher, Wheeler or Syndergaard, go. They're going to be expensive. Wheeler's going to be obviously cheaper than Syndergaard, but don't count it out because a team like the Astros desperately needs starting pitching. They have three great pitchers, well, two really good pitchers, and then or great pitchers, and Verlander and Garrett Cole. Wade Miley is good, but he's certainly not at the level of the other two. They really need someone else. Everyone else in the 4 and 5 spot has been atrocious for them. I can't remember the exact stat line, but I heard it was something ridiculous. When those three pitchers have started, they are well above 500, and when it's any of the other two, they're around a 500 team. Mm-hmm. So they're 4 or 5.
Yeah, they just never seem to really have it all together, and their record surely shows that again for this season.
Yeah,
sitting at 4th place again, 47 and 55 behind Philly, Washington, and Atlanta, respectively, and. Yeah, it seems like they got to get something going, and you just, there's only so many times you want to try to go back to the well, so to speak, of can we get this done with who we have? But, I mean, that is a team that, you would think would want to try to make something happen. It doesn't seem late enough for them. It's not, completely unobtainable, but it would be a far stretch, so it would be worthwhile to just try to, hey, what can we do to look toward the 2020 season?
Yeah, the Astros and the Yankees, they're going to be very active in the trade deadline. I would be shocked if those two teams don't make some serious moves. Just some other players, kind of before we move off this topic, that are going to possibly be moved. Eric Sogard is definitely going to be moved from the Blue Jays, I feel. Yasiel Puig has a possibility of moving.
Oh, you think so?
I think he could be. Cincinnati is not in a position to compete. Yasiel Puig is still a coveted player.
Sure. What are his numbers right now?
318. 318, 358, 635. As far as what he's been doing since April, he's really kind of taken off. He's got a cannon in the outfield. He's a above average defender, but especially if he has to throw someone out, the dude has a cannon.
Yeah, and if he's batting above 300, that's valuable.
Hunter Pence. who was pretty much long gone, signed a minor league deal with the Rangers.
Right.
Rangers are a 500 team, and he could definitely be moved. Is a nice piece for someone. And then Mike Minor, also from the Rangers, starting pitcher. I think that he will definitely be moved. The Rangers are 500. I think they're going to be looking to sell, and that's where I think a team like the Yankees are really going to be interested in someone like Minor. I could also see the Astros wanting to do it, but being in the same division, I find that a little bit harder to believe. But those are just some of the other big names that we might see moved on the trade deadline. Of course, there will be probably a lot more. Oh, and a huge one that I forgot. Greinke is a big one too. The Diamondbacks, the GM openly admitted that he's not really interested in just making a wild card spot. They're in rebuild mode, even though they're overachieving, and they are looking to move on. Now, Greinke is going to cost a boatload of money. Mm-hmm. He's owed $80 million over the next 2.5 years. So there's not many teams that can afford that.
Or do you don't even want to, even if they can afford it.
Tax.
Yeah.
He's been pitching well, so he's doing fine. He hasn't been great, as of super recently, but he's still pitching at about a 3 ERA. But he's going to be very expensive cost-wise. So to get him,
high cost comes high risk, no matter how good of a player you are.
The money's going to be the cost. And honestly, I'd rather spend a little bit of money but not give up as many prospects. I think that's where he's going to come cheap. His prospects aren't going to be as high because he costs a lot of money, unless the Diamondbacks are going to pick up a lot of that salary. So look for him to get moved. There's a couple teams that obviously are have the money to do it, whether they want to stay under the luxury tax. Different story. But he could definitely be moved as well.
There you go. Well, how about a who you got for this episode, which is staying in the realm of MLB, and also with the trade deadline, some projected winners and losers when it's all settled for that trade deadline. Eric, who do you have? Winners, losers?
Winners.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my Houston Astros, my pick for the World Series. They're going to go get a top-end starting pitcher to fit in their lineup. They don't just need a starting pitcher. They have to have a starting pitcher if they're going to make a deep run. You can't do it with 3 pitchers, even as good as their top 2 are. You can't just do it with 3. They need another starting pitcher to at least round it out, to make it to the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs, but to get in there somewhat healthy, they need a starting pitcher. They're going to be a huge winner in this one. Don't count out the Yankees either. I think they're going to be a huge winner as well too. Losers, I already talked about them. It's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. All they're going to do is going to go get a relief pitcher, even though they need a starting pitcher, a relief pitcher, specifically a lefty, and another bat. All John Mozeliak is going to do is go get a reliever. They're going to be losers.
Yep, I agree with you. I don't think that's a bad call at all in the slightest. For me, I'm going to start with the loser. I think, and whether or not they even do anything, to me, is the LA Angels. They have so much talent. So on paper, they look like they could be such a good team year over year, and they just don't do it. Right now, they're battling, even though they have a winning record right now, 54-49. They're going against a couple of other teams. Well, trailing Oakland only by a couple of games, but 11.5 back from Houston. Do they try to go out and spend more money and bring someone in? I don't think it's going to work out for them. So if they're in kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of position.
Yeah.
That if they try to also trade one of the higher value players away, what are they going to get in return for it?
Yeah,
and is that going to then be a catalyst for them to do well in the postseason? It's just a really
the Angels
tough position.
They're a middling team, and they committed a lot of money to Trout.
Yep.
I think it's going to be really important that they get that Albert Pujols contract off the books.
Yep. Before
they can start to really do some other stuff.
Right.
They have a lot of money tied up in those two that they're not really able to expand in other positions. So I would definitely say they've been losers over the past couple of years because they haven't been able to attract people via free agency because they don't have the money to spend, or they don't want to spend it because they wanted to save it for Trout, which they obviously just signed.
Right.
So now they're into another super long-term deal. Now Trout's way better than Pujols.
Of course. Yeah.
At the age
this
that
point,
they signed
right?
him.
We're not comparing,
in
their prime or anything.
They got Trout very young and they got Pujols very old.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a middling team. They are probably going to have to do something in free agency, but they're definitely going to be losers at the trade deadline because they're just a middling team. They're not going to go anywhere. I don't know that they're going to be able to sell or buy much.
Yeah, so you just got to sit on it and
they'll probably just take a reliever.
Just be glad that you're not sub 500.
Yeah.
I agreed. For my winner, though, I took a similar strategy as you did, and I'm going with my World Series champion, and that's Atlanta.
I could see them making a move too.
I don't think it even takes a lot. It just maybe somewhere in the middle of the lineup just to keep the bats going, or something to reinforce the bullpen for them. I think Atlanta just needs maybe just a little bit of extra push. They feel the heat from Washington, Philly just behind them, but right now they're sitting on top of that division, and guess what? Of course, they want to win that division. No one wants to go to the wild card against the Dodgers at this point in that in that league. So that's
wouldn't
who I
you
got.
maybe say that they I wouldn't say trade deadline, but they went out and they got what they kind of needed already when they signed Dallas Keuchel, who's actually been fantastic. They signed him, who was sitting out there forever. Maybe that was their addition.
Right.
Maybe that's a way to kind of look at it too. But the Braves may look to bolster the bullpen for sure.
All right. So how about some best games to watch before we wrap things up here? Some good matchups, it looks like, for the baseball realm. We mentioned earlier.
Here you go, man.
Yes, here I go.
Here you go. Every time. Guys, I almost fell for this trick, and I was like, man, I wonder what Ty's game to watch is, and you guys probably already know what's coming.
It's the best rivalry in not baseball,
you almost didn't
all of
put it
sports.
on there, and then I looked, and sure enough, it's Cards versus the Cubs.
That's coming
not
up.
To say it's not going to be a great matchup, because now it's shaping up.
Right,
to be.
they really have something to play for.
And it's coming up next week. It'll happen right at the trade deadline, so that there could be some interesting things, especially with both those teams being buyers.
Yep.
That could definitely be an interesting series. So I can't say I'm surprised, but I'm just going to call you out.
And then early August, changing over to the MLS, there is a matchup between the defending champions of Atlanta going to play the LA Galaxy. They're both first and second place teams. A little cross-conference play, but should be a good matchup nonetheless.
Yeah.
It's always kind of fun to watch Atlanta. Again, just carrying that success. So, anyway, what kind of games you got to watch?
Awesome. I picked out a Central Division matchup for Major League Baseball. Astros and Indians happening right over the trade deadline as well, too. Both teams, the Astros are definitely going to be buyers. We talked a little bit about the Indians. They may be buyers. They may be sellers. They may be a little bit of both. But that's a series I think that could also be quite interesting as well, too, to watch and see what happens. And then the Summer X Games happening August 1st through the 4th.
There we go. Cool. That's it for our show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and tell your friends. And also hit us up on our email, avgsportsguys@gmail.com.
That's it. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
See ya.